we'll get started. I expect a few more may join as we go along, but that's fine. And we will send a copy out to everybody just in case for those that weren't able to make it today for our live presentation. So, first of all, what are we going to cover today? We should be about 35 minutes covering this pre-trip webinar. First of all, I'm going to introduce your delightful host, Deb. Then Deb and I are going to talk a little bit about what you need to know, what you need to prepare for your trip to Norway, a little bit about arriving into Norway, and I'm going to touch on a few highlights of the itinerary, particularly because there's some spots in there for you to go and explore things on your own, particularly in Bergen, particularly in Oslo. And the request I'm going to have is that I'm going to give you some ideas, but that particularly if you are the explorer type, you want to go and see as much as possible, check things out. I'm going to give you a few tips for along the way so that you can maximize your time in Norway. And then, of course, we're going to answer any questions. So first of all, your wonderful host, as Deb just mentioned, just back from hosting our Greece trip where the weather was less than ideal, I understand. We can't control the weather. That's one thing we can't control. And so Deb's going to introduce herself in just a second. So Deb is our Wheel and Anchor host. If you have not been on one of our Wheel and Anchor trips before, and I think a number have, but some may not have, the role of our host is a couple things. First of all, other companies call them tour escorts, but or tour managers. Our hosts are much more than that. Of course, they fulfill all those functions of a tour escort, tour manager, making sure that the trip that we have put together, that I put together originally, based on my multiple trips in Norway, but that has been executed by my team, that everything goes according to plan. It's Norway. It's basically Switzerland of the North. So, but you never know. With travel, anything can go awry. So Deb is there to make sure that everything runs smoothly and that any hiccups that might come along are taken care of. That's the usual role of a tour escort. But it's also because we are a community and it's important to us that our members connect with each other, that you connect with each other. I mean, we're all a little bit explorers. And so making sure that you feel you get what you came for. That's part of Deb's role as well. But Deb is not the local guide, right? So Deb is not the one who's going to tell us where we have our local guides in Bergen, in Oslo, in Trondheim, in Ålesund. She's not going to tell you about all the sites. We have guides at the various main stops along the way who are going to do that. So Deb, do you want to say a few more words?
Hi, yes, thanks, Gordon. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to meet you. I look completely different because, as Gordon said, I just got out of the shower, just got home from Athens late last night, so I'm living the true red-eye dream. But I'm excited to meet all of you. We're going to have an amazing time. I just wanted to give everyone my Telegram address because mine's a little different. You'll see the @ sign. You'll see it in your pre-trip information, but mine will say @Deb and my last name, which is Gee, and the number 3. Mine actually has the @ symbol right in my name. So make sure you put that in. That isn't just to get you to the right place. That is actually part of my Telegram name. So go ahead and add me and just say hi, and then I'll add you to our channels. We're going to have a broadcast channel where I will put up information every single day on exact timing, if any details have changed with train schedules, etc. But it's really important that we're connected to Telegram before we actually even leave Canada. So strongly suggest that you do that. We'll probably touch on Telegram a little more in this conversation, but I always just like to say hello. I am Deb G. I don't know if you can see it on here, but there's a little tiny picture of me with blonde hair. I normally have pretty blonde hair. It's just wet at the
Like in the
moment.
picture, like in the picture.
Exactly. I really do look like that. So look for that symbol when you're looking for my name, and I look forward to connecting with you on Telegram.
Amazing. We'll talk more about Telegram in a minute. Let's talk about the most important thing. What do you need to prepare? What do you need for a trip to Norway? And so I'll start off with the easy stuff. You need your passport. Obviously, Norway is part of the Schengen region. It's not part of the EU, so let's not get that confused. Norway is they do their own thing up there in Scandinavia, but they are part of Schengen, so the rules are the same as the EU. As long as you have a passport, you're good to go. We always recommend that it's good for at least a few months after you come back. They're not they're not generally sticky, but I tell you, I got wrapped on the knuckles when I entered Switzerland a couple of months ago, and they're like, your passport's full, and you've only got whatever 2 months left on it, and they were a little bit, unnerved. But officially, as long as it's valid, you're good to go. So just double check that. And always good to take a photo of your passport, have a second copy or a photocopy, a printed copy. Any key documents, we always suggest that it's good to have an extra copy at the very least on your phone, or as I say, in paper form. And, as well, e-tickets. I mean, e-tickets, I personally, I don't know, I'm guilty. I use technology. I never print them out anymore, but some people feel comfortable about that stuff. The one other document that you will need, and I'll mention that again in a few minutes, is your transfer voucher. So when you arrive in Bergen, that so that you know where to get your driver. I mean, they'll be sitting right outside the door. Again, it's Norway. Things here work generally extremely smoothly. Um, so yeah, so that's all in terms of documents. Now let's get into the packing. Deb, do you want to start off, and I'll sort of fill in the blanks based on my many experiences traveling around Norway?
Of course. So the one thing I'll say about packing, and again, fresh off of a wheel and anchor trip, I really can't emphasize enough that in Europe, I really find everything so compressed. So pack as light as you can. And I'm not someone who checks a bag. I do check a bag, excuse me. I am not someone that can travel on just a carry-on. I have size 10 feet. So I do check bags, and it's important that it rolls well because we are going to be getting on and off trains, and there are times where we are responsible for our own luggage,
Yeah,
including you. So I think some of us were really guilty of overpacking on this Greek trip, and jumping on and off ferries. It's not always super easy, and it's an older part of the world at times. Norway is a bit more probably seamless, but it's always important to just think of everything being a bit more compressed in space. You need to be a bit more space savvy. So thinking of that, definitely pack some layers. We could end up seeing a little bit of drizzle, a little bit of rain. It is still technically spring where we're going. So really important. I thought it was great, to have a scarf, to have a light rain jacket. I'm not one to carry an umbrella, but I highly recommend it. It's great to have with you just in case, maybe something quite compact. Gordon, I'll get you to comment a bit more. This will be my
I
first
will.
time in Norway. But just make sure that you have some different layers, because I don't think we'll be in the blazing heat, but it's nice to know, that you can
No.
take things off and on.
Yeah, exactly. The weather, think West Coast Canada. I mean, the weather is Atlantic, and so uh, it's likely to be in the high teens, low 20s. Could be cooler. It could drop to 10 degrees. You never know. It could be 25. That would be less likely. Rain, you will see at some point. It usually comes and goes. It often comes in this drizzle sort of format. End of May, beginning of June is the best time of the year. I've been traveled in Norway in multiple seasons, but I always have the best luck at the end of May, beginning of June. That's why we do it then, and the days are also super long. So as Deb mentioned, yeah, the flexibility with the luggage is key. Have your luggage be as easy to maneuver as possible. And yeah, and hotel rooms in Norway as well are, they're not as snug as in Paris, France, but they are, definitely European size. So, don't think you're going to have tons of room to like, with massive suitcases. You don't need them anyway. The key is going to be the outerwear as opposed to the underwear. I mean, that's sort of the key. Um, good walking shoes. I mean, now, for those that want to do some hikes, and I'm going to suggest some things, I'm going to, talk about some things. You might want to take some more sturdy footwear, but inside the normal aspect of this program, there's some good walks, but there's no hikes. There's no real uneven trails. So as long as you got sturdy shoes and preferably not brand new ones, of course, the whole thing is informal. So casual everywhere. I mean, of course, it's nice to dress up a little bit. Norwegians are very casual people and very outdoorsy people. So, yeah, so nothing formal is required in any part. Have a day pack to be able to go out and about with stuff. Not to mention that, when you're on some of the transfers up through the fjords by coach, by ferry, your suitcase will be, you won't want to have to access it. So as long as you can put some stuff in there. I think that's sort of the main thing. to mention. So yeah, I think we covered most of what we need to know. Electricity is the same as the rest of Europe, so it's 220 volts with the two round prongs. So please do bring an adapter for that. That will cover most of your devices, including your, your mobile phone, your camera chargers, which will be all dual voltage nowadays. If you do have some special device that you need, a hearing aid charger or a curling iron or something that might be single voltage, do check that before you bring it along and before you plug it in to the wall. But I think that's
One other thing
uh,
I've
yeah.
discovered, if you are a
Oh,
Dyson blow dryer user, the Dysons don't work outside of North America, so don't bother bringing it.
there you go. You see,
Yeah.
that's a tip. I did not know that one. I wrote down something else here. Um, the days are long at this time of the year. The sun goes up at 4:30 in the morning and it sets at 11 o'clock at night, which is amazing. It gives you such long days there. But it also means that, if you're somebody that likes to sleep in a little past 4:30 in the morning, like me, an eye mask could be handy because it could be bright in the hotel. I mean, they have curtains, of course, but yeah. So Barbara asked, just to clarify, don't need hiking shoes. You don't need hiking shoes as if you were going to climb a mountain and on a rocky terrain and all the rest of this kind of stuff. That you don't need. Okay. As long as you have solid runners or, comfortable walking shoes, but we're not doing hiking unless you're a hiker. And I know I'm thinking Bruce and Cindy on this trip are very active, maybe want to do some hiking. And there is one particular trail in Olesund I'm going to tell you about when we get there. Then yeah, I would bring hiking shoes. So if you are thinking, oh yeah, I want to take advantage and not inside the framework of the program, then bring hiking shoes. But it's not required inside of the context of the itinerary. Okay. If you have more questions on that, I'm also happy to answer them. Uh, yeah, let's move on. Money. All right, I'll talk about money, Deb, or you want to talk about money? Or
Go for it.
okay, money, credit cards. That's all you need. If you think you can use credit cards everywhere in Canada, you can use them everywhere in Norway. So you honestly could do this whole trip without probably even seeing what a banknote looks like in Norway. I found now in Europe more and more, even the public toilets you can tap your card, or I don't even take a card. I use my phone. So it's like literally ubiquitous. You probably wouldn't even need a banknote. Of course, most people like to take a little bit of money. Norwegian kroner is the currency. You can see a picture of it there on the thing on the slide. But yeah, if you're going to take some out, how much should you take out? Take out 500 kroners, $100, or 600, I guess, is more what the exchange rate is now. But I wouldn't take out tons because you can get away with credit cards everywhere. We strongly recommend Wise for those that have traveled with us before. I tell you, I couldn't live without it now. This is the mainstay of how we do transactions. This is a debit credit card. You prepay it, you load it up. You can do it by Interac e-transfer or bank transfer or whatever, and then it's multi-currency. So you just stick Canadian dollars on there. You use it like you would any other credit card. Tap it, insert it in wherever necessary, and the exchange rates are unbeatable. We literally use this for all of our commercial transactions. Bruce and Cindy asked cash for tipping. Yes, tipping, which I will come to here, is you can tip on the credit card, so they'll do that as well in Norway. They are advanced to that. The key for gratuities, first of all, in Norway, tipping is not it's not common. So the Norwegians generally don't tip at all, and I know that may sound strange, but they don't generally tip at all. The tipping culture is really just sort of starting to get in there. But if you go to a restaurant, don't leave a tip, nobody's going to look at you sideways. Some places will have a service charge on the bill, but that's also less common in Norway. Mostly, and you'll see by the prices, Norway is expensive. You're going to find it expensive, expensive. Um, and let me qualify that in a minute. But so where do you need to pay gratuity? Yeah, maybe at a restaurant, you might round it up by a bit if the service was really good. Some restaurants are catching on to the North American craze of tipping and saying, "Oh, tip is not included." But in Norway, it is less common to tip, and you can put it on the bill. But sure, if you want to have a few bucks to tip, great. Um, we're talking about like porterage, which is ordinarily included, except that in Norway there aren't any porters, right? This is not something the Scandinavians do throughout Scandinavia. They don't, hotels don't have porters. The occasional super deluxe five-star hotel will, but none of the hotels we're staying in have porters. You got to schlep your own luggage. They will if it's really a struggle to get your luggage to your room, which it probably won't be, somebody will probably there to help you out. But they don't have porters per se, and so there's no tipping for that either. So yeah, so that's, I think it's a good question and a good point. It's not so critical. The only place that we do tip, of course, are our guides or our drivers, but that's taken care of. You've already covered that. That's part of the program. Deb will handle that kind of tipping. But otherwise, yeah, so you really don't need a ton of cash. While we're on the topic of money and while I think of it, so Norway is quite an expensive country. Why? It's an oil country like Canada. They've saved up a lot of money. It's the value of their currency. So the value of their currency is such that to us it occurs as quite expensive. What is expensive is the average stuff that you buy day to day. Like a cup of coffee in a coffee shop will be $7, although it's approaching that in some places at home. A beer will be at least $10, $12. Um, if you go out for McDonald's for the meal at home that's going to cost you 12, $14, it'll be 20, 25. That kind of stuff is fairly expensive in Norway. What I found though is in Norway is that if you're going for a nice meal, so what we would go home and at home and pay 80, $100, 100 more for, in Norway, all of a sudden it balances out. It's not that much more as expensive as home, but alcohol is expensive. So you'll see a bottle of wine you won't find under $60 in a restaurant. So just to give you sort of some guidance on that. But it's Norway. You get what you pay for, and you'll see it's such a spectacular country. Um, I'll speak to mobile communications. Deb, you can just elaborate one more time on Telegram because it is important. So your options are you can please take your phone because of Telegram. I think it's really important. Wi-Fi is in many places, certainly in all the hotels. I think it's on the train when we're on it. It's in most restaurants. Like Wi-Fi is everywhere. So you could really get away without having mobile data. But in this day and age, people like to have it. So if you like to have mobile data, you can obviously use your roaming from home plan. It's expensive, whatever it is now, $17 a day or something. Rogers Bell and so on. Or you can get a SIM card in Norway. When you arrive in Bergen, there are places that you can buy them. Telenor is the big one. It's like the Rogers of Norway. And they're not cheap, but it's certainly a lot less expensive than using your roaming plan from home. Or you can get an eSIM. If you have a relatively new smartphone, you can get an eSIM card and prepay, and you'll have coverage on this trip. I don't think of any place that you wouldn't have coverage. I mean, Norway, again, very wealthy country. They've got their infrastructure down. Deb, do you want to just remind them again about Telegram and setting it up and all the rest of it?
For sure. So Telegram is our main form of communication, and that's an app that you would download onto your phone. And it's basically another version of collaborative communication, much like WhatsApp. So we'll use that every single day, and we do have two channels set up. So one of the channels is called a group chat, and we will add every single one of you to that, and you're in choice if you'd like to use it. And that's an opportunity for you to chat with each other, get to talk to other guests, ask questions, but I don't monitor that chat. So if you do need to speak to me, you'll come to me directly through my Telegram address. And then every single day we will have a Norway broadcast channel that we'll use. And I'll also be adding every one of you to that as well once we make contact. And basically that's where I have the outbound messages that keep us on track every single day. As Gordon mentioned, Norway is an extremely efficient country and things typically go as planned, but there are always in travel, we're always subject to change. Things happen. So the good thing about Telegram is it's live in the moment. If you're on Wi-Fi or you're using an eSIM, you'll be able to connect into it and we'll be able to stay in communication. If there's any updates, if you're off having free time and we're leaving at a different time the following day, I'll be connecting with you through Telegram on that channel just to keep
Yeah.
everybody in the know. So you will, of course, follow along on your dailies, but the dailies are are always subject to change. We're at the mercy of train schedules, ferry schedules, etc. So it's a really good idea to get on Telegram. Find me on there. We'll make contact, and then I'll get you onto the two appropriate channels so that we can stay in communication.
Boom, and there you have it. Yeah, Telegram is the way to go. Um, Perfect. Health and safety. So just a couple of quick things I want to mention there. Um, Please, if you feel unwell at any point during the trip, particularly if you got a sneeze or a cough, okay, listen, we've all been through the P word or the C word or whatever you want to call it. So we just ask that if you feel unwell, if you have symptoms, please wear a mask for the benefit of your other um, traveling companions. I won't say any more about that. I think we all know. Let Deb know as well. Similarly, if you have a small injury, if you have sprained your ankle or, God forbid anything should happen, anything could happen, please let Deb know and we'll just assess because we tend to lean towards suggesting that, one go and see a clinic or a doctor. Again, it's Norway, they're everywhere. The system is incredible. So but we just want to make sure you return home in the same shape that you arrived in. And finally, obviously, it goes without saying it's a non-smoking trip. Norway is much like Canada; they don't not many people smoking anymore, so it's pretty straightforward. Okay, let's get into the trip a little bit. You are flying in to Bergen. I think you're all arriving on the 29th. Some may be arriving a little bit early. Deb, you're arriving in a day early, so she'll be there to greet you. Um, Make sure you have access to the transfer voucher. That'll tell you who's picking you up, and you'll find your driver pretty easy in the airport. It's not a super big airport, and it's quite efficient. And so all the information is there. And then you'll be brought downtown to the hotel. Bergen is not a big city. It's maybe 25 minutes to the airport from there. Uh, I always recommend it's 6 hours time difference from Eastern time zone, obviously more from out west. Maybe we recommend using Time Shifter, the app for combating jet lag. It does help. And because we are kind of, this is an experiential trip. We're kind of on the move right from the second day. So you want to be in fine form when you're there, so you can enjoy everything that there is to enjoy. There's not much more to say about the arrival in Bergen. As I say, if you have any issues, if you have a flight, if because Bergen you're going to be connecting somewhere, either in Copenhagen or in Amsterdam or in Frankfurt, perhaps probably Copenhagen or Amsterdam. Or maybe London or wherever you're coming through. If you happen to miss the connecting flight, this happened to me just 2 weeks ago on the way here to Estonia. Oh my God. I was on a 4 hour journey and it took me 20. So these things do happen. Then please let Deb know, get on the airport Wi-Fi if you don't have a mobile data set up and let her know that you're going to be, that you've missed your incoming flight. So that way she'll be able to assist you and make sure you get to the hotel. We're starting in Bergen, which is here on the sort of the southern coast of Norway. You can see the fjords are everywhere, but you are going to see on this trip some of the most incredible ones. First couple of days is in Bergen. You're going to go up by train, two trains actually, to get into Flum, which is at the edge of the Sogne Fjord, the longest fjord in the world, depending on who you ask. Some people say it's in Alaska or in somewhere else, but it's one darn long fjord, and it's this. The scenery is stunning throughout this trip. This is a scenery trip. Make sure your camera is charged or your phone is charged at all times. It's breathtaking. From there, overland, you're going to be on this, fairly long. It's going to take a better part of the day all through this beautiful mountain countryside, fjords here and there. You maybe even see some glaciers. Two ferry rides to get up to Geiranger, which you'll see here. This is the most photographed fjord in the world. And then from there, you're going to go by boat after overnighting in Geiranger up to Ålesund, the Art Nouveau town. I'll tell you about that. Then along the Atlantic Road, which goes up here via Molde, and you're staying in this stunning place here, the Hudvika guest house out on the coast. And then the famous Atlantic Road bridges and tunnels and all the rest of it, all the way up to Trondheim, where you'll spend a couple of nights, and then by train along the famous line that goes all the way back to Oslo for the end of the trip. So you're going to see really far as I'm concerned, the highlights, and that's why we've designed this trip the way that we have. There's a shot of Geiranger Fjord, the end of it, the little town of Geiranger that you're going to be staying in. So take some notes, or there'll be a recording anyway. You're going to get into Bergen. The first day, you're staying at the Hanseatic Hotel, which is just right adjacent to the fish market. You couldn't be more central. You're within a 10-minute walk pretty much of everything in Bergen, the main sites that you need to see. And so the first day, there's not much planned, but you might want to just sort of get right out and start walking around, checking out the city. As they pretty much most things are walking distance. The next day, you'll have a walking tour. You're going to see the Hanseatic Wharf itself, all these beautiful wooden buildings dating back hundreds of years to the Hanseatic era. And then the fish market, and then you'll take the funicular, which is not pictured here, that's going to take you to a beautiful viewpoint overlooking the fjord. You've got the whole afternoon at leisure. So again, this is where it's important on this trip. I really emphasize do a little bit of homework in terms of what might appeal. Just saying, what should I do in Bergen? You can Google that. If you're a music lover, about half an hour from downtown, Edvard Grieg spent much of his life here. The famous composer, the Peer Gynt opera. You will be if you hear it, you'll be familiar with it. It's a very cool place, lakeside. It's a lovely spot if you're into musical history and so on. If you'd like to go, the Bergen Aquarium is quite good. Has a lot of Nordic species you can do in the afternoon. For the hikers, for those who are a little bit active, you could go if you want to go up. The even higher mountain is called Mount Ulriken. You access it by cable car. You can hike between the mountain that we are going to go up on the viewpoint and Mount Ulriken, but that takes about 5 hours. It's probably more time than we'll have on this trip. But that's an option as well. So there's not a ton of time in Bergen, but choose it wisely. You might just want to hang out at the fish market because it's super cool, and you'll see the fresh fish that comes in the morning, and there's restaurants along there and so on. So that's Bergen. You're then going to be taking the train all from Bergen up into the mountains, and then you switch at a town called Myrdal, and then you take the famous Flam Railway, one of the most scenic rail journeys in the world. Takes about an hour. And it's one of the steepest non-cogwheel railway lines in the world. And you like the scenery just goes crazy from here. It's so amazing. And you'll end up in the town of Flom, and you're staying in Flom for a night. Flom again at the end of the Sogne Fjord. You're going to head up to the Stegestein viewpoint, overlooking the fjords. And this is when the scenery is just, from this day for the next few days is going to be just incredible. Then you've got a full day transfer that is going to take you with, a few viewpoint stops along the way up to Geiranger. Again, I showed you the picture before. That's this little town at the edge of this incredible fjord. This is a weird wide angle shot of Geiranger. And yeah, you've got another overnight there. You've got a morning hike. Again, hike, you don't need hiking boots, but it's a path, not paved the whole way. It's I think stones and so on. It's been some years since I did that walk up to a little waterfall there. In the afternoon, you're taking a boat all the way out this fjord, all the way around. Again, passing this amazing scenery, waterfalls coming down at this time of the year, over to Ålesund, and then you're going to end up here in Ålesund. So this town, I think this is my favorite town in Norway. I don't have so many favorite towns. You're going to be staying right in the center of the town again. The whole town was decimated by a fire about 100 and some odd 20 years ago, and they rebuilt it in this Art Nouveau style. So we'll obviously have a walking tour when you're in Ålesund, and you'll be able to walk up to where this picture was taken from, Mount Axla. This is the most famous viewpoint of the city because everybody takes this picture. So what I wanted to say is for those that want to do a hike, what I would recommend is heading up. Can you see my cursor, Deb? Can you see my cursor on the screen? Or no? Maybe not. Yes? Okay. This mountain here, Sugar Top, it's called. Okay. Let's see if this works. Is it working? Okay. Whoop. Ah. All right. Did that come through,
We
Deb?
could see it, we just couldn't hear it, but
You couldn't hear it.
we
Okay,
could
yeah.
read your
I
text because it was
video and
writing it.
Zoom doesn't work so well. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that was a clip from the top of that mountain, Sugar Top. For those that feel more active, it looks like it's a super high mountain. It's not super high. It's about 250 meters high. You can either hop on the local bus to get to the base of the walk, or you can take a taxi if there's a few people. And it's about an hour and a half up and back. It's not crazy. That is a hike though that is through mountain trails in fascinating forests, and as you go up the mountain, but the view is incredible. As you see, the day that I was up there, the weather was kind of lousy, but if the weather's good, and if you feel like something a bit more active, I would recommend that. You've got the whole afternoon at leisure. At this point, you may want to just stroll around town. There's some lovely little museums, wharfs, cafes. It's a lovely spot. Anyway, I stick that in because when I find these spots, I have to share them. Okay, I got to go back one here. I'm going the wrong way. From Ålesund, again, you're going to then head up to Molde and the province or the region called Møre og Romsdal. More beautiful scenery. Um, and you're going to have a little tour in Molde. And you're staying at a very cool guest house right on the coast. A lovely spot. I think you're going to absolutely love it. You're going to head along the Atlantic Road, then up to Trondheim. This is a whole series of bridges and tunnels, and you'll think, who actually paid for all this? But that's the beauty of Norway. As the scenery, as impressive as the scenery is, the infrastructure is what boggles my mind because it's like we can't get the money together to build a bridge in Canada is quite a project, but in Norway there it's remarkable. So you'll get to witness that on the way up to Trondheim. Then you'll visit this lovely town. It actually isn't the greatest picture of it, but beautiful town on the fjord. You're there for a couple of nights. Again, there's some free time in there. You're going to see the Nidaros Cathedral, which is the most important site of the town. It's very cool with the gargoyles all along the side. Um, but there's some other various other activities. So I would again you know, invest a bit of time to see what might appeal to you so you can avail yourself of that activity for the afternoon in Trondheim. And, Deb and I are going to chat at least one more time before the trip, and I'll give her a few of my other insider tips as well so that you're steered in the right direction. And then from there, you got a fairly long train trip, but it's again very scenic. One of the more scenic train trips in the country that takes you from Trondheim all the way back to the capital city, the biggest city, Oslo. It's not big at all. It's only 500,000 people, but it is beautiful. I love Oslo. And we are staying literally in the Opera Hotel, which is where I always stay in Oslo. It's literally attached to the railway station, which makes it super convenient. Once again, you can walk everywhere in the city. Literally a 6-7 minute walk away is the famous Opera House. It's like an iceberg that slides into the harbor. It's amazing. So in Oslo again, I there's a couple things. So you've got a half day tour in Oslo. You're going to be seeing the Royal Palace, the main opera house, the Aker Brygge, which is this harbor area here that was built sort of 25, 30 years ago. Very cool, modern, sort of industrial residential kind of area, or I should say former industrial area. But you're going to have a whole half a day again. You're going to have a few hours when you arrive. So you get off the train around 3 o'clock on the day you arrive. So you've got some time that afternoon and you've got some time in the following afternoon. Few things that I want to recommend. And again, Deb all will have this info. Vigeland Sculpture Park, a very cool sculpture park. It's not far from downtown, where the sculptures that were built over like 20 years depict the evolution of life. Super cool. It's I think something you really ought to see. Just across the harbor, you can take a little ferry because you'll have an Oslo City card, so all this stuff is included across to the so-called Bugdøy Peninsula. There they have three museums. The best one, unfortunately, is still closed for renovation. The Viking Ship Museum. They've been fixing it for years, but The other one that I consider a must see is the Fram Museum. The Fram is the polar ship Fram that the famous Norwegian explorer rolled a Munson used to travel to the South Pole to get there and beat Robert Scott. You'll remember the history. So I think it's super cool. The original Fram ship is there for the first South Pole expedition. There's also a very cool Norwegian folk museum there. If you are into, I mean, Norway obviously has a Nordic skiing sort of culture just outside of town, with a beautiful view over the city and the surrounding fjord. Is the Holmenkollen ski jump. They hosted the Olympics there in 1952, and again, beautiful view of the city. You can't do it all unless you're staying for several days, but you can pick and choose. There's lots to see and do in Oslo, and I'll again um, walk through some of those options with Deb, so that and your local guides will also recommend some of these things to you. So I just wanted to give you my take on that. Oops, I'm skipping ahead because my fingers are cold. It's a little chilly up here in the north. So I've spoken enough. Are there any questions about anything I've talked about on the webinar? Anything else that you need to know at all at this point? And of course, it's not your last opportunity to ask questions. If you do have any questions, you've got a couple options. You can obviously email Paula or Aura, or you can obviously send a Telegram message to Deb. And if nobody can answer your question, which I'm sure they will be, obviously come to me, and we'll make sure that you get everything that you need to know. Good. I see a question come in. Makes me happy. Do we get inside any of the buildings on our day tour of Oslo? No. First of all, the tour of Oslo is a half day. I think it's about 3 hours. And so you'll only see the outside of stuff. The Royal Palace you generally can't visit on the inside, or at least last time I was there, because the royal family actually uses it. And the opera house is not that super interesting on the inside, just seeing the outside of it. So the key is the sights to see on your free time in the afternoon, which is included on either afternoon, which is included in the pass, which would be, as I say, the Fram Museum, the Holmenkollen ski jump. All those things are included on the Oslo City card. So it's just a matter of kind of picking and choosing the thing that's right for you. You could theoretically do all those things I just mentioned. You just have to move your butt. But keep in mind, the sun doesn't set till 11 p.m., right? As I mentioned at the beginning. So now, not these things don't stay open that long. But it is summer, so a lot of this stuff will be open till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Um, so yeah, we don't do a lot of inside tours, particularly in this part of the world, as part of the touring, because otherwise you'd eat up too much time. So we kind of leave that for the free time, and then you can choose the thing that's kind of best suits to you. What else to know? There are 17 folks on your trip, so it's a perfect size group. And language, yeah. Listen, in Norway, everybody speaks English. There is no language issue at all. They all, yeah, because they figure nobody else in the world speaks Norwegian, so they all decide to learn English. It's a very cool country. You're going to love it there. If any other questions come up, again, drop us a note. You can drop Melody a note. Her email is here. She's one of our newest team members. She's amazing, very, very committed to making sure that everybody gets what they need to enjoy the trip. And with that, I'll wrap it up. Since we're 38 minutes in, have a fantastic time. I kind of wish I was going, but Deb beat me to it. I love Norway. You will love Norway too. The scenery, it's an amazing country. You'll understand why consistently gets rated one of the best countries in the world. Um, you'll understand why. So have a great time. One more question. Would you recommend having rain pants? It's not a bad idea. Barbara, I wouldn't. It's not a bad idea. Like, I'm hoping you're going to have the weather that I usually have in Norway, which is generally pretty good, but you can get some drizzle and it can come at you sideways. It doesn't usually last long. So again, outerwear, never a bad thing. And lightweight, uh, and also because you're gonna get some ocean breezes and stuff like that. And on that boat ride from Geiranger to Ålesund, if it's a cool day, if it's 15 degrees and sunny, but it'll still be chilly out there. So good. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great time, and I look forward to hopefully seeing a bunch of you this summer. You guys are going to be back by the time we have our summer socials. Yeah, so I'll hopefully see some of you at some of our summer socials next month, and I'll look forward to hearing what your experience was of Norway. Okay, bye bye. Thanks again, Deb. Thanks for joining us today.